FireFit athletes. My name is Jordan King. I've been competing in this sport for over 12 years and I love the sport of FireFit. I love the way it combines strength, speed, power, mental toughness, technique, and I think it's unique in the way that it does that. And because I love the sport of FireFit, I want to help the athletes who compete get better at the up. Today, what I want to do is I want to share some tips to improve your stairs so that you can get that coveted 12-second climb. Before we begin, I have to talk about this tracksuit.
Are you wearing pajamas?
These aren't pajamas. It's a warm-up suit.
I love tracksuits. This one is inspired by my favorite movie called The Gentleman. There's a character in there called the Coach.
Now wake up, lads. Life's quick, you're slow. Life's hard in a bone top. Come on down to the gym, we'll see what we can do with you. Hang on. Are you the coach?
And I love it. He wears these plaid tracksuits. I got this handmade from the Ukraine. It's paisley lined on the inside. It's a nice blue plaid. And I've paired it with a neutral flat cap. And I think I look pretty good. Now, before we get into the training, I have to get changed. All right, into some workout gear. Shout out to Lambton College. The beginning of the FireFit course and the Firefighter Challenge course is the up, also known as the stairs. This is supposed to simulate firefighters carrying hose and tools up to the fire floor in order to do work. In the course, firefighters will take this hose pack that's about 45 pounds, throw it on their outside shoulder. They're going to run up 6 flights of stairs and put it into a box at the top of the tower before the athlete continues on to the rope hoist. Today, we're going to focus on the up. We're going to give you 7 steps to make your up faster and hopefully help you achieve that coveted 12-second up. Before I get to the 7 steps on how to be faster on the stairs, I want to take a quick moment to talk about mindset. Because this is the first event of the course, there can be a tendency to get a little bit overhyped for it, and you have to watch your mindset. If you come in too hot and you try to win your race all on just the front stairs, it'll make you clumsy, you can fall. So you want to be aggressive, but under control. You are going to have to figure out what that means for you as an individual. I've gotten this wrong a bunch of times where I've come up to the pack, way too hot, way too amped up, get it up on my shoulder, and then fall flat on my face.
Yeah!
You're going to have to practice during your training runs the right mentality to approach the tower with to make sure that you're being aggressive, but also under control. The first step for making your stairs faster is to have a forceful takeoff. When you approach the tower, what's going to happen is, whether you're on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, you're going to start by placing the inside foot forward. So your front foot is always going to be your inside foot. So I'm over here. You can see my front foot is my inside foot. The reason you do that is because it lines up your feet for the transition on the landing. Then you're going to place your feet, you're going to squat down, and then you're going to get your hands underneath the pack somewhere around the middle. Personally, I position myself just behind the middle of the pack. Then I reach down and I'm going to put my hands under the pack. Once my hands are under the pack, the start is going to come quite quickly. As a result of that, when I'm putting my hands under the pack, I'm thinking about loading my hamstrings like I'm about to run a race. So, hands under the pack, then I load into my hamstrings, waiting for the go signal. Once I get that go signal, the pack is going to come up onto my outside shoulder, and you want to bring your hips through, and this outside foot now is going to be the first one to make contact on the tower. So your outside foot is going to touch the first step. So one of the ways we say that to help remember is your first step is on the first step. So outside foot onto the first step. This is where the forceful takeoff part of the start comes. You're going to line your body up in a tight and ready position. And then once that pack comes up, you want to start moving forward, and you want to think about, as the pack is coming up, Your shoulder is going to be meeting and going through the pack as you're ascending the stairs. What you don't want to do is pick the pack up straight up and then lean in and start trying to move. You want to have that be one motion. And that's what we mean by that forceful takeoff. It means grab that pack, get it on the shoulder, moving through it and getting moving up the stairs under control. What that would look like is I'm going to approach the pack, hands. Okay, step number 2 is about tucking your pack. What we mean by that is keeping your pack in close against your head and neck, especially as you're turning the corners. There's a couple of reasons for doing that. Number 1, if you can see behind me here, when you're turning the corner, if you don't keep this thing tight to your neck and it's kind of floating away from you, as you turn the corner, you can see behind me, I'm hitting that upright with the pack. That's going to really slow you down and you want to avoid that. So one of the ways you do that is you keep it in close to the neck and you tip it in a little bit forward. So as you turn the corner, you can see the pack is no longer hitting the upright of the tower as you go by. One of the things you want to avoid, and this can happen when you're racing, is sometimes your pack will slide down in front of you like this, like you're carrying it like a baby. Don't run the rest of the tower like this. You will lose more time than it takes to stop, reposition it onto your shoulder, and to keep going. The other thing too is sometimes the pack will get really far behind you like this. Same thing. Take a second, pop it back into position, and then continue on running up the stairs. There is the off chance sometimes that when you start your race and you're not thinking right, you can end up with a pack on the wrong shoulder. So it'll look like this. You go to start, and then the pack goes onto this shoulder, and then what you end up feeling right now is I have nowhere to grab with my hands, and this pack is on the inside shoulder, which is wrong, so I can't pull on the inside railing. Do not continue at this point without fixing the pack. Stop, take it, switch it to the other side, and then continue up the tower. If you keep it on the wrong shoulder, you will lose incredible amounts of time. It's worth stopping and fixing it and getting it in the right position. Step number 3 is about explosive knees. Wow! When you start the race, your outside foot is going to be the first foot that hits the tower. And then after that, you're going to double step the remaining way up the tower like this. What I want you to think about while you're moving up the tower and you're double stepping is about driving your knees forward. Some people have a tendency to really think about their feet and trying to get their feet on the stair. What I want you to do is I want you to lean forward and drive with that knee, because that knee drive is what's going to propel you up and make it easier for your foot to land on the right stair. So the purpose of the knee drive is to get you in a good position. I want you to imagine like you're doing sprints up a hill. If you're sprinting up a hill, you're not going to be straight upright and you're not going to be marching. You're going to be over and you're going to be driving that knee forward. What it's going to look like after I turn the corner is you're going to see me driving my knees as much as I can and leaning forward in a sprint position. Or what I don't want to see is knee drive, but the knee drive is all straight up and down and not forward like this. Step number 5 is fast and tight turns. For most of you, I would say 90% of you, this is where you have the most time to gain. There are 5 corners that you make on the way up the tower. 0.3 of a second per landing shaves 1.5 seconds off your time. So this is something that people underestimate. What I find when I'm coaching athletes is once people have made the corner and they're going in a straight line up the stairs, most people are around the same speed. Where I see most people lose or gain time is how their body moves around the corner. So when you're going to try to shave time off of your tower, I would say probably the first place you would need to start is focusing on making sure your turns are efficient and fast. The first thing I want to talk about in order to speed up your turns around the tower is footwork. A lot of people have a tendency to kick their feet wide what I want you to do is I want you to keep your feet in tight as close as you can to this upright so that your body and your center of mass is close to the upright, which allows you to turn around faster. So on the Canadian Tower, you'll see that halfway through the stairs, there is a bar that runs this way. When I land with this foot, I'm trying to keep it inside of that bar. That's a visual cue that I use. So it's not out here, it's in here. My second step is going to be here, and it's a check step that allows me to turn my hips and reposition them so they're straight up the tower. And then this foot comes back up onto the second stair. That maintains that double step climb all the way up the tower. There are some people who prefer a single step landing. That's fine. The main goal is whatever gets you around the corner the fastest. It's just that in my experience, this double step way of doing the tower is the fastest way to get around. One of the reasons is you can see that once I plant here and then I do my check step like this, you can see that I still have bend in both of my legs. That bend in both my legs allows me to generate power to move around the stairs. If you step really wide out like this, and then this one comes around, what you're starting to see is as I move my body into the stairs, now both my legs are extended. I have no power left to generate momentum to go up the stairs. Also, this distance is increased, which means I have a longer distance to get around. Remember, we're talking about shaving potentially 0.3 of a second or half a second per turn. And this is how you do that. The point of the fast and tight turns is to keep your center of mass close to the point of rotation and quickly moving up the next flight of stairs. You don't want to lose sight of the fact that the footwork is there to facilitate that. It's not about hitting your footwork and overthinking about it, then doing a turn and things aren't smooth. The whole point of all of this is so that when you come around the corner, you're tight, your center of mass is close, and it's easily turned and transitioned around the corner. Remember, don't donkey kick, which is getting this foot way out towards the end and far away from the railing. Even though you can kind of feel that swing weight and it feels like you're going fast, you're actually losing time. You want these feet in tight, hip against the railing, and then a quick turn and up. Step number 5 is all about arm pull. The majority of this race is your legs. Your legs are going to be what's most tired at the end of the race. Very few people complain about their arms being tired at the end of the race. I want you to use your arms as much as you can on the up with really strong arm pulls on the railing. There's only 12 pulls because we recommend 2 pulls per railing. So in the whole race, you've got 12 pulls up, and the stronger those pulls are, the faster you're going to get up the tower. You've trained to have really big arms, so now it's time to use them.
You son of a bitch.
The way we recommend positioning your hands for the 2 pulls per landing is the first one, as I'm approaching, you can see my position here. I'm getting ready and I'm just about hitting the landing. I want this hand already on this upper railing because as soon as this foot hits and my hips are clear, I'm pulling on this as hard as I can to bring my body around the corner. And then I'm going to violently throw my hand up the railing as fast as I can, grabbing tight. And then I'm going to pull again as hard as I can. And then you can see here, as I'm approaching the next railing, this hand gets up again. And then as soon as my hips clear, I'm pulling as hard as I can to change that direction of motion around the corner. I want to talk about something else with a pull. It's not good enough to just get your hand up and give it a little tug. I want these pulls with your arms to be quite violent and aggressive. And I want you to think about it as a lat row that finishes with a tricep pushback. What that means is, as I'm turning this corner, right now, my lats are going to engage and I'm going to drive this elbow down towards my hip when I pull. Like this. And then once this hand gets to about where my chest is, it now turns into a tricep pull, push. So I'm going to push with the tricep, then you violently throw up for the next grab, And it's the same thing. You're gonna pull, and as your hand passes your body, so if I show you on this side, as your hand passes your body, it's a little finish strong with your arm so that you get a little bit of that extra push off, and then you throw your hand back up the railing as fast as you can. What I want you to remember when you're coming up the stairs is to use your arms as much as possible. 12 strong pulls, that's 2 per railing all the way up. Don't be like that girl from Seinfeld who doesn't use their arms while they're going up, which can happen sometimes because if you have your pack on your shoulder, you have a tendency to forget about pulling. I also want you to remember that you need to pull around the corner. So it's not just one pull on the middle of the railing and then you turn the corner and then start pulling. I want you to really focus. If you have to shorten the second pull, the most important thing is to make sure that this pull happens and is really strong around the corner. The 6th step to faster stairs or up is breathing properly. Most athletes have a tendency, if you're actually doing a good arm pull around the corner, you have a tendency to hold your breath while you do it. So you'll grab and then you'll hold your breath as you're turning the corner. I want you to focus on exhaling as you come around the corner. Now, one of the ways you can do that, like I talked about in other videos, is through grunting or yelling. It sounds a little silly, but you would be amazed at how effective it is at making sure you exhale through torsional movements, and it prevents you from holding your breath, which means that you'll eventually pass out. What you can do is, I land with my foot, I grab, and then I grunt as I run around the corner. When you're on air, especially when you're on air, you're gonna really hear that difference. What I want you to remember is forceful exhale around the corner and not holding your breath. The 7th and final step to getting a faster set of stairs is to have a forceful finish. What that means is when you get to the top of the stairs, you're not gonna look around at the scenery, you're not gonna think about the terrible life decisions that have brought you to competing in this sport.
What the f am I doing here?
You're gonna be aggressive, throwing the pack into the box and getting to the rope pull as quickly as you can. What I mean by that is, as you approach the top of the stairs and you hit this last step, you're gonna stay leaning forward, not standing up. And as you're leaning forward and you're making the transition onto the landing, you're gonna throw this into the box and then you're gonna move to the rope as quickly as you can. It's time to step up your stair game. Those are 7 steps to help you shave time off your stairs, get that coveted 12-second up. Also, depending on what your goal time is for the course, I'm gonna put up a chart that has some estimates on how fast you should do the stairs if you're aiming for a 125, 130, 145, etc. So you have an idea of how fast your stairs should go. So just to summarize, the 7 steps to go faster is a forceful takeoff, tucking your pack, having explosive knees, fast and tight corners, strong arm pulls, control your breathing through the corner, and to have a forceful finish. Now go hit the course and set your new personal best. Make sure you come back for a new tracksuit and a new training video. Until next time, this is the coach.
Come on down to the gym, we'll see what we can do with you.